Hello and welcome to the Fall Start Fantasy Podcast with your hosts, Cameron and Josh. On this week's episode, we're going to talk about how we will be handling our fantasy football championship, reviewing our takes before the matchup, and talking about the NFL playoffs as well as other options that can be going into that. But before we jump in there, Josh, how are you doing?
I'm not doing too badly today. Recovering from a little bit of cold, but other than that, I am good to go.
Yeah, and of course, before we get started, we are going to be talking about how the fantasy football championships are going on, but everything, of course, matters most about how the Bills and Bengals game will be decided after the horrifying injury to Damar Hamlin. Our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family. Last we heard was
Mm,
some positive news there, as I believe they said he was down to 50% oxygen instead of 100%, and they said that they've been seeing good signs,
correct.
but lots of steps to go and a whole lot of recovery that he has to get through. We absolutely hope he gets through it. It's you know, fantasy football is just a game, and really the health of the players comes first. So,
Exactly.
yep. But we do still need to talk about that and how it affects fantasy football. It is something that is obviously important to many people, as it's, I think, of extremely fast growing action, and it's really something that's enjoyed by a lot of people of all different places. And I'm a big fan of it. So we'll go ahead and jump into our fantasy championship here. As I mean, it's what we predicted from the beginning, right, Josh? Chris and Ethan going at it. Ethan with the lead into the final match.
Definitely, we'll go with that. Yeah,
Yeah,
did not see this coming at all.
The Gardner Minshew fan club. 112.5 points or zero point 0.6 points if you want to round up. Leading the way currently in the fantasy playoffs. We're in the championship game. They were only 7 minutes into that Bills Bengals game, but right now, I mean, Chris is behind and he's got some digging to do.
hmm He still needs. I'm just going to round to 30 points to make the math simple, just to catch up. So it'd be very interesting, depending what happens, but we'll be discussing that later.
Yeah, absolutely. We will get into later specific about how all the different leagues are handling it, but basically, right now, we're just going to wait until the NFL makes a decision, and at worst, we'll just go with whatever the NFL app is going to decide. But we don't have to make any decisions right now. We just want to share what things we're looking at right this moment. But yeah, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase for Chris, he's got to make up 30 points, 28 to be exact between the two players. And sure, Joe Burrow can have 34 points and Chase could stay at zero. And hey, that's a win for Chris, but it's going to be a lot more complicated than that. But right off the bat, Josh, tell me what players surprised you of the ones who have played in their scores?
I mean, the easy one is the very first one on Ethan's side, Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes,
Danny Dimes, baby.
36 points. If you had told me he was going to get 36 points, I would have laughed at you.
Yeah,
As well, Indianapolis, their team has been a mess this season. Their defense is still average-ish.
I'd say so.
And Daniel Jones has basically no weapons. So you think, oh, yeah, he's definitely going to be okay. Only okay, and then he goes off for 36 points.
Yeah, truly incredible performance from the Giants. Honestly, they heard that they couldn't get into the playoffs with a win, and so they decided to go ahead and get that win. And Daniel Jones, 36 awesome points, go ahead and leading that. Now, we had predicted 4 point favor to Chris. I still think it's possible Joe Burrow puts up 40, but it's looking like it's going to be a decent win there from Ethan on that spot. Next one we had
Mm-hmm.
was the Leonard Fournette versus James Conner. We thought there would be a 5 point difference between the two. There ended up being a 5.3 difference. So round of applause to us, right?
We did a good job on that one. Pretty close.
I had to give
Not
us
as
a round
much
of
points as I thought, but we were close.
yeah, I had to give us a round of applause there because the next one we did not get so right. We projected Kenneth Walker would have 10 more points than Josh Jacobs. Really thought the Raiders would struggle underneath the new quarterback and 49ers front seven being dominant, but Josh Jacobs hates the haters, doesn't he?
That he does. That's been basically his model this entire season.
Yeah, we predicted a tie, and we'll go ahead and wait on that. But a good game from CeeDee Lamb. I was pretty excited that I was playing against him in a league because after about the first half, he only had about 10 points, 11 points, and I was feeling pretty good. And then he decided to go ahead and keep doubling that and get where he is.
Yep.
PPR really
Solid
helping
outing
out
from
there.
CD them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
And really showing that he can be the wide receiver one that they need in the playoffs.
Exactly.
Next one we had here was Garrett Wilson versus Chris Olave, the two Ohio State rookies. 4 point favorite, 4 point win there for Ethan. We predicted 8 to Chris, so missed on that one. Any
Hmm.
surprise there? I know I was not expecting that game from Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, with Mike White back, I was like, okay, Garrett Wilson gonna have a pretty good game. And yeah, Seattle's secondary is not awful. I can't remember this cornerback's name right now, but Tariq
Tariq Woolen.
something
Tariq Woolen.
Bullen
Yeah.
is fantastic.
Hmm.
So it doesn't surprise me too much, but at the same time, I was expecting a lot more.
Yeah, it was. I know the media tried to hype up Sauce Gardner versus Tariq Woolen as these two defensive rookie of the year candidates. If you ask me, I think they're both probably leading the way. You'd have a really hard time to. If I had to pick one, I don't think I could. I think it'd be Sauce, but man, I just love the aggressiveness that Woolen plays with instead. It's pretty interesting.
Hmm.
Um, but really, just a good job by Tariq Woolen and the Seahawks defense shutting out the Jets like that, beating them by 17. Next one we had here, Darren Waller versus Johnson. We predicted 3 points to Chris. Ended up being 5 points. I think that's pretty close, not too bad.
Pretty close, yeah. Waller definitely had a better game than I was expecting. I remember thinking at one point I saw Johnson's points was where it was, like sometime in the first half. I was like, oh man, this guy's gonna go off for 20. Nope.
That's the tight end
For a
position.
tight end? Yeah. For a tight end, solid outing.
Absolutely. I think I was a very respectable amount of points there for them. Flex position, we had predicted 5 points to Ethan. I cannot believe that in a 41 point game, Christian Watson put up 2.1 points. I,
Hmm.
I'd assume that's one
Granted, he
catch for
was
11
coming off an
yards.
injury, most
Yeah.
likely. I mean, coming off injury, it does make some sense, but at the same time, Aaron Rodgers has been really liking what he's been seeing from him. They've been throwing him the ball a lot, so it's like, yeah, he'll have more. But surprise, he didn't.
Yeah, the Packers just not really needing it, shutting out the Vikings. Just absolutely putting them in the dirt that game. But Keenan Allen
Hmm.
showing that he can still put up 11.8 points. I think that's pretty consistent from that guy for the last 4 years.
More or less, yeah.
Kickers did kicker things. Defense did some things, and Ethan sent me a text before the game started. It was about 4 a.m. So when he gets off work, and he said, "Hey, should I make any changes to my fantasy football lineup?" And I said, "Yes. Pick up any other defense." And I
And
would
what did he
hate to
do?
think,
The
I would hate to
opposite.
think that he's going to end up losing this game by, let's say, 8 points. Let's say he picked up a defense that got 5 points. There's a very real possibility that that would be exactly enough points for him to win the championship over Chris.
Hmm. And that's the sad part.
Absolutely is. I went ahead and did something I don't usually do. I included the bench of these two teams just to highlight how strange these lineups are. Um, I cannot believe that first round pick Najee Harris is just somebody that had to be benched this late in this, just for Josh Jacobs. But absolutely, just great season from Josh Jacobs. I think it was a very unpredictable game from Najee Harris, and
Hmm.
then just the absurdity from Ethan to keep Lamar Jackson, um, Darnell Mooney, and Cooper Kupp is on his IR in the last week of the championship. And wasn't even interested in picking up anybody else.
It is a bold play by Ethan. Time to see if it actually works out for him or not, though.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to that Bengals Bills game. If, let's say, we're going with the Bengals and the Bills next week matchups, who are you going to be taking? Let's say the Bengals will be playing. Oh, who are the Bengals playing? Bengals will be playing the Ravens. Do you think that if we have to use the Week 18 scores, do you think that Chris will pull off the win, or is it Ethan's game?
If that's the case, I would go with Chris winning. The way you beat Baltimore, and Bengals will want to beat Baltimore just because why not? It's through the air, so yeah, I'd say in that case, Chris wins. Not by much, though.
Not by much. I hate to agree, but I think that would be true. Bengals are going to want to win that game. Seeding is going to be huge in the AFC right now. Figuring out that 1, 2, 3 spots. So I think they'll also put up a good amount of points, but I don't think it'd be as many points as they would put up against the Bills. We hope that other people aren't completely ruined by that, but I guess we'll wait and see what the NFL decides.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, last thing we had about last week's episode is we had some waiver weapons for the championship game. Noah Fant and Isaiah Hodgins. Noah Fant was a miss, bringing my total to 6 misses, 9 hits on the season. And your pick of Isaiah Hodgins was an absolutely great hit as he finished as a wide receiver 20 on the week. Great job there.
Hell yeah. I was like, ooh, this guy's a receiver for the Giants. He must be decent because there's no one else.
Yeah, that's he ended up putting up a decent amount of points. Very respectable. So that brings the
Mm-hmm.
total of the year. Let's see, 6 plus 11, 12, 23 misses between the you and I and our guests, and 17, 20 hits. So we missed more often than
And
we hit if we
one
include our
miss because of
guests.
it.
Yes, and one
Mm-hmm.
injured player before the game started. So, uh,
Screw you, right top of the hill.
and if we didn't include the guests, maybe we would have had a better record. But that's not how the game works. 20 to 23. Let's hope next year we can get above 50%. What do you think?
Let's hope so.
I
Or at least
I
go for an even 50.
I would like that. I think I would like that. Well, we'll see what it's going to look like next week, but we did want to share what each of the different fantasy apps are doing. I pulled these images from the USA Today article written by Prince J. Grimes. I said Prince James. Prince J. Grimes from USA Today. I have the link there in the slide. And Josh, go ahead and explain this first one here, because this is what we're going by, as this is the app we play on.
So basically, excuse me there. A lot of this is going to depend what the NFL obviously decides to do with the game. They're just going to call it as it is, call it a tie, replay it. It largely just depends. So right now, NFL.com, they're just kind of at a watch and wait, see what happens. Of course, they're going to be held in place because the game is suspended right now. It's postponed, and they are just going to provide updates as it goes along. So for right now, they're just watching and waiting, and then they'll say what's going to happen after that.
Yeah, I think that's a appropriate response. Is what we're going with. The ESPN app had a very similar approach there. Of they're just going to wait for the official decision by the NFL. There's leagues out there that are playing Week 18. There's leagues that, of course, are not.
Hmm.
They went ahead and extended it through the end of Wednesday, that is today, hoping that the NFL would share a decision on what would be made, and they're going to keep scoring as needed. I imagine if there's teams out there that are doing Week 18 championships that are going to be a little annoyed by this, but there's not really much I think the NFL could do, as this is pretty unprecedented. The other
Yeah,
two,
I've never seen anything like this.
yeah, the other two big fantasy football apps that are out there, Yahoo and Sleeper, have pretty much the same answer on they're going to wait, of course, but for now they're just going to go and call the games if this is what the NFL calls it. If this is the end of the game, then all these points are going to stay as they are. If the game is canceled and zero out, then fantasy points will zero out as well. I think that's pretty interesting take from Yahoo, but hopefully the game is played.
Hmm.
I know I am in a championship that is riding on that as well, so should be interesting. And then Sleeper is essentially having the same thing. If you're interested in any more details on all of these, of course, look up um, the apps themselves, and I recommend the USA Today article. So.
Hmm.
All right. We are going to also talk about what we consider to be some of the best options for if you're not happy with the decision that your platform is making. We recommend any of these real options, and we'll kind of talk about their pros and cons there. But the first one is, of course, the ideal option. If the game is played, then the points from that game is what will work. I don't care if that's after week 18 ends. I think that's what you want to go for.
Hmm. Hopefully that's the one that happens as far as fantasy goes, but teams will do what they need to do.
Yep, the next option, and this is one that has its merits. Points stay as is. The current winner is the current winner. So if you currently have 0 points from Jamar Chase, this is part of the risk of fantasy football, in that sometimes players get injured and sometimes players get ejected and games end in surprising ways. And that's kind of what it is. I see the merit, of course, behind that. However, I do think it is a bit of a cheat in that it kind of cheapens it, right?
Yeah, to me that is basically the worst case scenario. Um, I'd basically only do that one if it's going to be clear and obvious who the winner is. Which in our league, that is not the case.
Yeah. I am in a work league. I am currently 60 points behind my championship opponent with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. I'm not catching that guy. Everybody knows I'm not catching that guy, so we're just calling that one as it is. We don't need any more information on that.
Hmm.
Um, Next one I have here. This one's interesting. So split the pot, co-champs if it's a championship game, and a winner cannot be determined. I think this one works best in leagues where there is money. I'm in a dynasty league.
Yeah.
The two guys who are competing for third place, where you get something like $50 for finishing third, and you get $30 for finishing fourth. They're just going to go ahead and give each other each $40, split it right down the middle between the two, and they're just since neither of them have any picks in the upcoming draft, they really don't care about who's determined as the winner. I'm sure the commission will just pick someone.
That's a pretty good system to do that if both parties agree to it, of course.
Yeah, and that is really the essential about all of this, is that both parties and really the whole league kind of has to agree to whatever the decision is made.
Hmm.
Next one there is the projected winner becomes the winner based on projected point totals. This one to me is it's it's not what you want to do. You don't want to do any of these really. Like none of these are the results of what you want to
No.
do. However, the Bengals and the Patriots are not playing each other in Week 18, of course. The Bills are going to be playing the Patriots. The Bengals are going to be playing the Ravens, and it's pretty obvious that the point totals of the players will be projected to be quite a bit lower. If you're not wanting to use the Week 18 scores, this is really, um, you kind of have to go with the projected points. The
Hmm.
Yeah, the points of the players that are projected by professionals, the apps that run it, they try and be as accurate as they can. They went ahead and gave you a decent number, and if it's close, this may be what you have to do.
Hopefully that's not the case though, because again, projections are projections. I've always lived by the philosophy of don't ever go based off projections. So definitely not the most ideal, but not the worst one out of these options.
Yeah, and then week 18, use the Bengals Bills players in scores from week 18 as their points in week 17. It's not what you want to do. It's pretty much expected that their points will all be lower, and so it sucks that you would lose from
Yeah.
the week 18 scores, but would have won based off of the projected scores. But this is unprecedented territory, and I don't think there's anyone who's going to be happy. If you went with the projected points and you didn't go with the week 18 points, I imagine your opponent would be unhappy. So it's kind of where we're at right now. We're
Hmm.
hoping to get an answer from the NFL soon-ish, and we can bring more into it. But I think that's enough discussion on the championship. What do you think?
I think so.
All right. Well, then we're going to go ahead and do something a little different, and we're going to take a look at what we're calling what is the NFL playoff machine. This is done by ESPN. Highly recommend. And we're just going to go through each of the matchups and predict how we think the NFL playoffs are going to end up. First matchup we have here is the Raiders versus the Chiefs. And could we just give it to the Chiefs? Is that totally fair and expected?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's an easy one. Chiefs all the way.
Yeah, if the Bengals Bills game is declared a tie, that win would lock in the first seed from the Chiefs. If they continue playing and Bills win, this game will not give them the first round bye, but the Bengals Chiefs game would still would matter a lot of that.
Hmm.
Yeah. A loss to the Raiders would bring the Chiefs to 13-3, but uh, I like the idea of the Chiefs winning that.
Yeah, they should win it.
Yeah. Talk to me about the Titans Jaguars.
So this one, it's to me, it's fairly simple. Titans don't have a decent quarterback, and for as good as King Henry is, he can't do it by himself.
If he's even
He needs
healthy.
at least some support. I was looking, and it said he's practiced 2 days in a row now,
Okay,
in full practice. So
that's good.
it might have been one of those like, you're slightly banged up. Okay, we'll just sit you out for this week, bud. But I'm still taking Jacksonville simply because they are looking really good right now, whereas the Titans haven't won since November. I think.
I am absolutely going to agree. The winner of this one would be the fourth seed in the playoffs. At 9-8 is the fourth seed. Okay. Chargers will be happy to be playing them, I think, in the first round.
Yeah. Although if that was the case, I'd actually take Jacksonville over the Chargers. Not gonna lie.
Really? Okay, that's a bold take.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens when we get there. What makes you think Jacksonville versus Chargers?
Chargers find a way to choke every single game, it seems like, or at least every important game. I also don't like Chargers head coach. There's a fine line between being aggressive and being dumb, and he usually flirts with the dumb side a little bit too much.
I like Brandon Staley. I like analytical thinking. I think a lot of things have gone pretty bad for him. Anyone who has listened to my um, separate episodes has definitely seen that, but that I am a fan of analytical thinking. But I do not love the Chargers offensive coordinator, and while their defense hasn't been the worst, worst, it has not been what it was supposed to be. Um, Next matchup here,
Hmm.
Bucks Falcons. I don't think it's even
Do
possible
we
because the
know?
Bucks, yeah, Bucks have secured playoffs, so this one really doesn't matter. They can't finish above fourth and they can't finish below fourth, so
Yeah, I'll take. We know if they're going to rest the starters. Have we heard anything about that?
I would. So, they have to have a quarterback
So,
next year.
assuming they rest the starters, I would take the Falcons.
See there,
In
I
the
believe they.
event they don't, then I'll take Tampa.
It was either last year or the year before they drafted Kyle Trask in the second round. I think is what it was, and that guy's pretty terrible. In the preseason games that I got to watch
Yeah,
him, that guy is terrible. So we'll see if they end up
yeah,
running with. Is it Blaine Gabbert is the backup? I think.
that sounds right.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see if he runs out there and ends up throwing a lot to Scotty Miller if he's still there, but. I definitely wouldn't playing
It
Julio
has a name
Jones.
I've
I'll tell
not
you that
heard.
much. Yeah, throwback there.
Yep.
So I personally take the Falcons. I think it's a pride matchup. I think they'll want to win, and they'll get the win.
Hmm.
Uh, wow, look at this road record: 1-7. Not good,
Wow.
but then again, their record in general is good. This one matters a lot for playoffs. If the Patriots win, they are in. But are you thinking the Bills lose?
It's at Buffalo. I think they're going to have a strong showing, especially after what happened to Damar. Um, yeah, I don't see a way Bills lose this game.
All right, and I think I would agree. Bills are definitely going to be favored in this one. Yeah, next matchup, Bears Vikings. This one it matters to the Vikings. They can still finish as the 1 seed. It doesn't matter for the Bears. They have no fields. Vikings for sure.
Yeah, I don't see a way Chicago wins this one.
Yeah, I'm definitely agreeing. Ravens Bengals. I think the Ravens obviously want to win it. They could finish as the 5 seed and get to play the Jaguars instead of these top three in the AFC. But I am personally going to take the Bengals in this matchup.
Yeah, I don't see a way Bengals lose that one, at least unless Lamar Jackson's back. Then there's a chance, but even then, I wouldn't count on it.
I haven't read an update about whether or not he is back yet, but it's been. I don't know. I know he was limited last week, so he's probably expected to be in this game.
If I was the Ravens, I'd sit them until playoffs.
Yeah, but this one matters a lot because you could be playing the Jaguars or you could be playing these three teams. If the Chargers lose
That's true.
and the Ravens win, they flip it. So they're gonna care. I think there could be an upset there, but we then require the Broncos to win, and I don't see that's happening. We can skip to that one. Chargers winning that one.
Yeah, yeah. I don't see a way where Denver wins.
Yeah.
Excuse me there.
Get to another matchup that really doesn't matter. Texans Colts.
Texans? I guess?
I think the Colts are stuck with Ellinger. I don't think they're starting Ryan
Yeah.
because Foles is injured. So I don't think it's absurd to say Texans. But look at these numbers: 32nd ranked offense, 30th ranked defense. That's something else.
Oh, if you need something to listen to and take a nap, put on that game because it's going to be boring as hell.
Yeah, the 29th best offense versus the 32nd based offense. That's they have the same
So,
average points scored of 16.1, and the Chiefs fucking lost to them.
different part of the season. Different part of the season.
It's fair.
That's all I have to tell myself.
We'll come back to the Jets Dolphins because I want to get onto that. We'll make them a tie.
Uh, Carolina. I like their uniforms better. Sure,
I
why not?
like it. I know you're a Cam Newton fan, so.
Gross. Cam
Uh,
Newton. Blech.
Brown Steelers. Steelers win. That puts them in the playoffs. Depending on a Jets win. But the Browns, I mean, Mr. Evil did get 3 touchdowns last week. Do you think he could do that against their biggest division rival? I'd say.
No, I still have the Steelers winning that one. Not by much, but I think they will find a way to still finish above 500 somehow.
I think it's pretty much inevitable. I think the Steelers. Yeah, you're right. They're probably gonna win this one. And I think that all the
Hmm.
play action and the I'm gonna be smarter than you on offense from the Browns versus the I am definitely smarter than you on defense of the Steelers isn't gonna work out for the Browns, and Steelers are gonna take this one.
Exactly.
Next, Gardner Minshew probably leading the Eagles in this
Mm,
matchup versus Daniel Jones. I mean, this is what we all wanted to see, right?
exactly.
Favorite one seed
Um,
comes down to this.
I'm going to take the Giants on this one.
I think
I
I
think
would
they
agree.
I think they want to play spoiler for the Eagles. Just, stick it to a division rival. Why not?
Yeah, I think I agree. I think the Giants will beat the Eagles. I just am not liking Gardner Minshew on the Eagles' offense. Does not look good. Cowboys,
Hmm.
Commanders, taking the Cowboys. Commanders are eliminated. Cowboys want the chance at that 1 seed.
How about them Cowboys?
All right, Cowboys. That puts them as the 1 seed if the Eagles lose. So pretty big deal there. We've talked
It's
about this. If I talk about
that's
the
so
Broncos
crazy to
anymore,
think. It's crazy to think Cowboys can still get the 1 seed.
yeah, it's very open here of these 4 teams in the NFC and these 3 teams in the AFC. I'm loving how this is ending. If I talk about the Broncos anymore, I'll start throwing up. So we'll skip over
Yeah.
here. 49ers, same thing with
49ers, easy.
yeah. I guess if they win,
I
they're
think it's
in.
David Blau, the
Oh
QB.
my God, you're right. Yes. Oh, that is embarrassing.
So, I mean, maybe they'll catch the 49ers sleeping and pull off an upset, but I'm not banking on it.
Next one here. This game is, I believe, going to be happening at noon. I think the Seahawks have to win to get in. Are you taking Seahawks or are you taking Rams?
Hmm.
Look at that logo.
Give me the Seahawks on this one.
I think so too.
I think they find a way.
Yeah.
And they got
Uh,
Lockett back, so they got their offense back, so I think they find a way.
yeah, I started Lockett last week in my Dynasty League. It was him or Jacoby Myers, and I went with
Yeah.
Lockett. And the matchup to decide the
Mistakes are
7th
made
seed
sometimes.
here in the NFC, Packers or Lions. I'll pull up the matchup here. If the Seahawks win, then I don't believe the Lions can make it. Yeah, the Rams would. If the Rams beat the Seahawks, then the Lions or the Packers winner gets a 7 seed. But if the Seahawks win, then only the
Mm,
Packers can end up with it. Who are you projecting?
Games at Lambeau. This is a close one. Give me the Lions.
I like it.
Upset.
Packers are in a
It's a
run, but
close
I
one,
don't
though.
care. I want the Lions to win, so I think they'll win. And then to decide
Hmm.
the 7th seed, can the Jets beat the Dolphins? They're just playing for pride.
I mean, realistically speaking here, this is going to turn into a defensive battle. Dolphins are starting Skylar Thompson, the man, the myth, the legend.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Dolphins can get a win on this one. I think it's going to be a close game, a very close game. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it went either way. I wouldn't be surprised off of if it's a pretty low scoring game. Miami's defense isn't awful. Um, that's right. Skylar Thompson played against them. That was the game he came in.
He did. Yep, that was the game he came in for Teddy after he threw one pass and got injured.
Difference though in this game for the Jets, they don't have Brees Hall now, so
That is
entirely
exactly
different
right.
offense. Um, I gotta go with my boy Skylar Thompson.
Yeah, I'm thinking it as well. I like the Dolphins to sneak in here as the seventh seed. I think Steelers still finish with a positive record. Congrats to Mike Tomlin, but I do think the Dolphins take that spot from them as the seventh seed. And I'm kind of liking this because what we see here is divisional matchup here, divisional matchup here, and then
Hmm.
we got Chargers versus Jaguars and the Chiefs with the first round bye. And hopefully we would not have to play Cincinnati.
God, I hope not. Come on, Ravens, just beat them for one time, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, we'll just say the Patriots win. How's that?
Yeah,
Eh,
definitely. Yeah,
I would
I
much
want
rather
my
play
boy Skylar
Bills.
Thompson.
I would much rather play the Bills than the
Yeah,
Bengals. It's
yeah.
All right. Well, then that is our predictions for how things will end up with the playoffs. We will take a look at this next week. I'll make sure to get a screenshot of this so we can compare to things how they actually ended up. But that about does it for our episode of the False Start Fantasy podcast this week. Josh, do you have anything else to add before we close out?
Go Chiefs.
All right. Well, you can find us on Twitter at Josh Newshafer and at Cameron's Ego. Make sure to reach out to us on there if you have any questions or comments or really anything you want to talk about fantasy football related. Hit us up on Twitter. We'll be back next week after the regular season ends, so we can recap the finals, hopefully get an answer from the NFL on what to do about the championship matchup, and share who our championship winner is and why it's Ethan and why we all have to grow Gardner Minshew mustaches before the draft next year. But thank you so much for listening. If you're after next week, we're going to be talking about the playoffs and our matchup, but we're also going to be bringing up our new startup dynasty league that we're going to be building up. We're going to have a few people from this league in there, but also a few people on there out there that are we may or may not know yet. So if you're interested in joining, feel free to leave a comment on YouTube or hit us up on Twitter. We will have more details on the roster, scoring, all that to follow, but won't be drafting soon, but make sure to subscribe, turn the bell on YouTube so you'll be notified before our next episode, and so that, of course, you can be ready before the ball is snapped. All right, well, that does it for us. Josh, you got anything else to add?
Prayers for Damar Hamlin.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as well as any and all Bengals and Bills players that really traumatizing event that happened. So,
Hmm.
well, thank you all so much for listening this week. We hope to have a good weekend of football here and look forward to the playoffs. Have a good one.